I'm Jen, and today I thought I would share my favorite things from this past quarter. So this is now the second quarter of 2019. There was kind of a shorter list this time than there was in my first quarter, which if you didn't see my favorites for the first quarter, be sure to check in the cards and I'll link it down in the description below. But I found myself going back to a lot of things that I already enjoyed this past quarter, so there weren't a whole lot of things to add. But I do have some really fun things to share that I think that you'll enjoy too. First is apps. I am always looking for awesome new apps to do various things, and I'll pretty much try any app if given the opportunity. But this month I found two different apps that were incredibly helpful. The first one is called Later. You can actually get it on your phone or on the computer or both, but you sign up for an account and this helps you schedule your posts for Instagram. I was having a really hard time with this before because my schedule can tend to shift a lot. I want to do something more regular on my Instagram, which if you're not following me, be sure to check down the description. I've got the link down there for you. But I was having a really hard time getting everything scheduled at a regular time. Later helps you schedule that and will auto post for you if you have a business account on Instagram, which I have. So that has been super helpful. It keeps me organized. It even lets you see on there's a little scheduler page where you can see how it looks on your actual profile, how each of the pictures can line up, and so it's helped me shift stuff around. So it's just been really helpful and I would highly recommend it if you need a scheduler for Instagram. The second one I have is called Write a Day. Now this is for Android. I'm honestly not sure if they have it for iOS as well, but I'm sure they have something similar. But basically it's a journaling app. It's a very minimalist screen, you basically just have the button to click to start to write something, and then you can write something real simple there. It doesn't have to be a huge long deal, which I appreciate because that's one of the reasons why I haven't been journaling, is because I feel like I have to say a whole lot, and sometimes some days just aren't that interesting. But what I've been using this for is actually I got inspired by Jenna Moresi. Her channel is linked down below as well. I got inspired by her. She had read through the book, I believe it's called Writing Through Depression. And one of the exercises in that book was to write down one thing you did well today, and you do it every day. And I suffer from generalized anxiety disorder and OCD, and a lot of that plays into my self-worth. So it's taken a beating. But I am actually using this activity now on this app, and it gives me a log to look back through things that I've done well and remind myself, yeah, I can do this. I've done something good. I've done something, on those really bad days. So that's an app that I've really enjoyed. On to movies and TV. My husband and I are marathon rewatching The Great British Baking Show. So we've had a lot of sickness and not feeling well, and I've had a lot of migraines in this last quarter. So typically when I'm not feeling well, I don't like to watch new things because I want to focus on them, and especially if I have a migraine or something like that, I can't really focus on it. So it's helpful to have something that's familiar and that I can just watch and enjoy rather than having to really pay attention and that sort of thing. But we did watch Good Omens on Amazon Prime. Oh my gosh, I freaking loved this show. It's a miniseries on Amazon Prime based on the book by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, which, a little shame here, I have never read a Terry Pratchett book or a Neil Gaiman book. I know, it's horrible. That should be required reading for everyone. It wasn't for me. But this show has actually made me want to go back and read the book and read more of both of their books because it was just so fan-frickin-tastic. I kept asking my husband, I was like, why am I agreeing with the demon more than the angel a lot of times? It's really interesting, but if you don't know anything about it, it's basically about an angel and a demon who become friends and end up trying to stop the apocalypse. That's probably the simplest way I can describe it for something that ends up being really complicated and hysterical. It's very British humor though, so if you don't like British humor, it's probably not going to be for you. So be forewarned that you need to like British humor to enjoy it. But I thought it was fascinating and just absolutely wonderful. And to be honest, I'll watch anything with David Tennant in it. That's how my husband got me to watch it. He's been very close to my heart ever since I saw him in Doctor Who, so yeah, he'll always be there. Okay, books. This one, I actually have 5 books from this last quarter that were 5-star reads for me, that were just so awesome that I definitely want to share them with you guys. So the first one I've already talked about, but it's Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This is a female-female romance, and basically it's set around Denalea, who is the princess from another kingdom, who is destined since birth to marry the prince of the neighboring kingdom, and is supposed to be helping them, you know, form their alliance or whatever. But then Denalea ends up falling for the prince's sister. This book was just so interesting on so many levels. I absolutely loved it. The thing that I found the most interesting though was LGBT type relationships in this book are like totally fine. Like this whole world is totally okay with that. But gender norms as far as stereotypical male and female gender roles are still very much a part of the world. The sister of the prince, even though she's older than the prince, is not going to be the next to rule. Also, it is expected that the women can still be bartered as wives, which are still very much common in stereotypical gender roles. So it's interesting to see how those two things play against each other. The next one I have is Illuminate, which was co-written by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Oh my gosh, normally I'm really intimidated by super thick books because it still takes me a long time to read. This book, oh my gosh, I read it kind of as a fully immersed experience. I got the audiobook and then I was reading along with it, and so I was listening to it while I was reading it at the same time. I would recommend doing it that way if you can. It was just so wonderful to hear the full cast, you know, doing the audiobook, but also the way that they format everything in this book. It's such an interesting way that they format it, so it's like I wouldn't want to steer you to do one or the other. Honestly, both of them together are just fantastic. I would highly recommend this, and I'm looking really forward to doing the next couple of books. This is basically a sci-fi story set around 2 characters. We're living on these spaceships after there's an attack on their planet. There's a whole lot of secret stuff going on these ships. And so they're trying to get down to the bottom of what is actually happening, and it's just, so good. So good, read it. The next book I'd like to share is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. This is actually my first introduction to Brené Brown, and it happened to be on audiobook at my library, and so I was like, why not? It seems interesting, and I watched her TED Talk on shame, and that TED Talk totally blew my mind. And basically this book is an expansion and exploration of more into shame and the difference between shame and guilt and how it affects our lives. It was just so fascinating. It was such an interesting read. You can tell that she really puts so much work and so much heart into this book. I mean, it was definitely a 5-star read for me. It was a very life-changing book, and it's one of those ones that I know that I'm gonna go back and reread quite a bit. I also read She Dreams in Color by Jessica Calla. This is the 4th book in the Sheridan Hall series, which is a new adult contemporary romance series set around these college students that are in the same dorm in a New Jersey college, and some of the trauma and struggles and drama that ensues with their lives and how they end up all being so connected to each other through these struggles. This is the last book, and I was really sad, and I kept putting it off because it was the last book, and you know, it's out of 4 books. So I've really grown to love these characters, and it was kind of sad to say goodbye. And I honestly wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this one because the main protagonist for this one is set around Pooja. I liked her character before, but I never really connected with her until this book. To be honest, I think this is my favorite of the 4 books in the series. So I don't want to give away any spoilers or anything, so if you haven't read them, go back and read them. I just really enjoyed these books. They all have such a unified feel, but since they focus on a different relationship in each one, they all have kind of their own flavor. And I really enjoyed that because you can read them out of order if you want, but you'll just enjoy them a lot more if you read them in order. And my last 5-star reads for the 2nd quarter is Reflections by Brianna Morgan. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys, I love Brianna Morgan and her writing, and she's just an awesome person and an awesome author. She's an author-tutor, and she's doing everything. She's living her best life. Okay, let me just tell you. This book, I have to say, is by far my favorite of hers. It was so gut-wrenching and moving, and it deals with some incredibly heavy topics in such a careful and honoring way. She deals with body issues and sexual assault and rape, and so definitely trigger warnings for those things. For me, it was almost a healing experience to read this book. It is about this girl named Rama who ends up finding the body of one of her classmates in the woods, and there's something super creepy about it. And she ends up getting involved in trying to solve the murder. These young girls keep ending up dying in the woods, and she's trying to figure out what is happening and how to stop it, and ends up getting involved with shapeshifters and finding out that there's something incredibly insidious going on, and it's her mission to stop this thing. My description is not doing it justice. You really should pick it up. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a heavy read, but it's like once I got to the midpoint, I basically blew through the book and I could not put it down. So it was absolutely fantastic. So that is it for my favorites for the second quarter of 2019. I hope you enjoyed those. I'll put the links to the books down in the description so that if any of them piqued your interest, you can find them. But now I'd like to know, what is one of your favorite books from the last quarter? I would love to hear it. My TBR is getting forever long because I keep getting so many good recommendations from you guys. So please keep them coming. Let me know. If you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and ding that bell so that you'll never miss an upload. I upload every Tuesday, so I will see you next week. Bye.